is.
Ooh la la.
I got my mother.
Hmm.
All my scarves are from my mother. Scarf, Dale. What? It's too important for two scarves. Come on. If you're not wearing it, Jasmine. But it is much warmer than it was during global game. So who is here for global game now?
Yeah. Represent. Went pretty good.
Everybody finished their game with no bugs.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, and we are streaming now.
Okay. I'll sit down.
Thank you so much.
Camera.
Oh yes, yeah, that's going. Do, 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 do. One final doohickey, and then we're set. Ambiance. There we go. Set that to track.
Okay.
We're going. Welcome in, everybody. Game Dev Meetup. If there's any first-time attendees in the house? Hell yes. Thank you so much for being here. Talk to the people next to you. Let them ask you how you found us here, and maybe join us for hanging out afterwards. If you have questions about our safe event policy, you can find that at igdatc.org/policies. This is an organization, fun fact, that is run by all volunteers. We have our volunteer board, many of whom are in the room with us right now. If you have any questions or concerns regarding the event or any of the things going on, you can contact us at igdatwincities@gmail.com. You can talk to us in person throughout the room, or find us on Discord and ping us at the role IGDATC board. If you are interested in serving on the board, elections happen every year. That March is a little inaccurate, but we're going to get into that in a little bit.
So we're getting some feedback and echo on the stream.
Feedback and echo. Cool. Let me turn down the gain on the room mic. So if anybody is chiming in for Q&A, just raise your voice a little bit more than you normally would. Cool. We'll leave that where it is. If I get more feedback that it is still weird, let me know. But otherwise, I'm going to keep going with the slides. IGATC is also all volunteer. We have volunteers as well as volunteer board members. So if you don't want all that formality, but you'd still be interested in contributing something to the organization, an event you'd like to run, ideas you'd like to see implemented, if you have a certain skill set and you're like, I could help with like social media or something like that, let somebody know, and somebody will point you towards someone that can help make that happen. And we'll put a picture of you up on the board. If you are a volunteer and your picture's not up there and you would like it to be, send me a picture. Cool. So we have many recurring events, most of them happening on Wednesdays, 6:30 to 9:30 Central. First Wednesday of every month is Jam Night at Noble Robot. It is a no agenda open co-working night. Just bring something to work on and chat with other creatives of every type of discipline. Second Wednesday of the month is the Game Dev Meetup. Congratulations, you did it, you found it, you're here. Go team. Here at 2DHQ, industry community presentations from people that we are so excited to see. Third Wednesday of the month is Twin Cities Playtest at Noble Robot as well, where you can bring any sort of in-development game, send it in remotely, and it will be playtested by attendees in person, as well as recorded and live-streamed with MC discussion and Q&A from one familiar two-scarved Dale LaCroix, which will be recorded for you to receive feedback and get more insight on your game's status. It can be any level of polish, and the worse it is, the better.
That's kind of true.
Yeah. Any state that a game is in is good enough for playtesting. So if you're interested, send Mark LaCroix, that's at Mark LaCroix on Discord, or Mark LaCroix right there, a message with a link to your build and more info maybe. Then fourth Wednesday is Minnesota VR 8 and HCI at Rem 5 Studios, VR, AR, and HCI presentations and demos. We also have other events that happen on other days of the week. Women, crazy, right? Women in Games Gathering is every third Saturday, 6:30 to 8:30 at Noble Robot.
Okay, so this month it will probably not be a Noble Robot because I'm out of town, but keep your eyes on the Discord, and hopefully Sam
That would be crazy. My mother is in town that weekend, so we will see what happens. We might go to a coffee shop or something. Usually at Noble Robot, if you are interested in partaking, there is a role that you can opt into in the Discord that will show that channel, and you can join in on the discussion. And then game.wave, game.wav? That was a 2025 bit. I ran out of like different pronunciations like 4 months in. Yeah. Well, tomorrow, day after the Game Dev meetup most months, with AKA second Thursday, 6:30 to 8:30 at Hennepin Technical College Audio Production Department. Discussions and deep dives on all things audio, open to folks of all skill levels and disciplines. Rob, is there anything on the docket? Jordan's game? Oh my gosh. Well, dang. Well, I'm clearing my calendar. She won't be here till next week. I'll tell her to come up a week early. Yes, it's pressing matters. If you're interested in adding something to this list for me to read off, if you have an idea for an event that we don't provide, or you have something that could tack onto an existing event, again, talk to a board member. We are always open to new ideas. Game.wave, run by a volunteer member of our community. Legend in the flesh, Rob. Quick shout out, thank you to our sponsors. These wonderful, amazing businesses offer their space so generously to us for our events. Look at their services they provide, check out those links, and give them your business if it so aligns. Oh yes. Shout out to sponsors.
Hey James, raise your hand. Thank you.
Yes, for real.
We literally like made the game jam happen. Like he was available, and we forced him to stay late on accident on Sunday night, and very appreciative for helping us out. Like this was an awesome venue. Like and thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, James. Yes.
I apologize. It's the audience now does not seem to be audible.
Cool. I turned it down too much. Let's see if
The echo from the audience is what's causing the problem.
there is still an echo.
Echo from the audience, apparently.
Okay. Let me maybe just cut desktop audio. Okay, I'm gonna talk for like 5 seconds while we troubleshoot this. In the meantime, my friends in person can take a look at this really cool organization that provides many services to this community. This is the organization that funds and sponsors these events. So if you have gotten value out of this organization and have it within your means to give us money to do more stuff, like buy more equipment that we can troubleshoot, or food for events, it will be used only to support the mission of this organization, which you can find at nicegames.org. How are we doing on audio?
So far sounds good. Let me hear about my voice and hey, let's hear what.
Yes, thank you. We will see. Cool. Thank y'all for sticking with us while we sort out the kinks.
It's like hearing double on my end for anyone in the audience.
Okay. I have no idea what's going on with that. No, it's all good. It's good to know for our friends who are joining us online. Let's see here. So you are like, it is a double, like you're just hearing the room audio echoed like very loudly twice.
Do you want to listen to?
Yeah.
Did we say something?
Okay.
I think it's safe to just say we can move on.
Yeah. It might be a little echoey for this recording. I will try and troubleshoot it once I am no longer up on the stage, and I will coordinate. Global Game Jam. That happened. It was great. It was awesome. We had like 15 games, 75 participants.
Wow.
They're on the slide.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you were talking about Global Game Jam while the slide was up, because it was not.
Oh, yes. And now it is not. It's gone. So this is our section for community plugs. If anybody has anything to share with the community for the good of the cause, if you have a game release, news, things like that, now is your time. I will take hands. Go for it.
In a couple of months, VGMCon is going to be happening, which is a convention for video game music and video games, and it's in Western Minnesota. So a fun time. So if y'all want to support local Minnesota content game developers who are going to have games there, show up. I think it's in April. I forget the exact dates, but like early April.
Hell yeah.
What's it called again? VGM.
VGM Con.
We'll surely throw a link in the Discord if I don't get around to it.
Or thank you, Kieran. Anybody else got any plugs? Yes.
This might only affect people who are online and students, but this next weekend there's Scout Jam. And again, there's an already started by the Bradley University. Let's go do like Midwest University Jam. And I think they've got something like 10 different universities all collaborating in the Discord. So just
Nice.
some college you want to join in. If I get the opportunity, I can connect them to sponsors.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else? Going once, going twice? Cool. All right. Is Ruben here? Ruben want to talk about Minnesota Mixtape? Cool. There is a project in the works to make a compilation of Minnesota-inspired and produced games. If you are interested in hearing more, DM at Ruben or PacificX. Thank you. Ruben on the IGDATC Discord. And go back and look at these slides for more because I've taken up so much time with the troubleshooting. Jam, this is my baby. This is another jam that happens monthly. Starts on the first Friday of each month. Instead of making a game, you just make one asset. We have another member of the organizing team who moved here during Global Game Jam in the back with us. Hi, John. There's a theme each month. Create an asset based on it. Based on your discipline, it can be anything, whatever your skill set is. Find some way to incorporate the theme. Find some way to show it to people. And then there you go. First Friday of each month, 6 p.m. Friday to 6 p.m. Sunday. And there's an off-season theme monthly. The off-season theme this month is Glow. QR link there, or talk to one of us for a Discord link. Nice Games Club is also an awesome podcast that is currently on seasonal hiatus, but we'll be back first week of March with new episodes. But there's some really awesome reruns. So if you're looking for like the bangers of the last year, the episodes currently airing as reruns are the ones to see. It's pretty nice. Okay. Pre-presentations. Do you want to join in, Mark, for more election information?
And then we were going to open the floor to anyone who wanted to do postmortems and give a chance to Game Jam.
Yes.
If that's you, make yourself known after I'm finished.
Yes. Cool. I'll move this, and I'm not going to bring my laptop with me yet.
Yeah, I'm cool. Okay, so I talked about this last month, but it's election time for our program committee / IDGATC board. I won't go through all the details. I'll just walk through the process and what's a little different this year. So the long and short of it is, if you missed it last month or forgot, the program committee is also the board of our IDGA chapter, but it's the program committee of Nice Games Alliance, which is the nonprofit that we formed here. So it's kind of doing both those duties. The program committee is elected by you. And so every year we elect about half the seats, and so half of them are up this year. And you can get all the details when you inevitably miss a detail or I don't say everything at iggatc.org/governance. You get the full like bylaws of the process, and then also the Google Forms, which will be asking you to participate in to nominate people and vote. So the timeline is that we did the announcement meeting last meeting. This is the nomination meeting. And normally nominations would close at the end of this meeting and then voting would begin. But instead, we're going to actually move things a little bit further because the election meeting is the third of them, which normally happens in March, but GDC is in March and a bunch of us are going to be out there. So we're delaying the third meeting till April. And our initial plan was to have a 2-month-long voting period, but I think Trenton was like, that's silly. And so we all agreed it's going to be a 2-month nomination process. So I talked last month about what it takes to nominate, and that link is on the governance page. But again, anyone who's interested, you can, it's a competitive process technically, but like it's super cool to lose. It's no big deal. So like put your friends up. You can't nominate yourself, but you can nominate your friends. You can ask your friends to nominate you. It's relatively simple. You can put as much energy into it as you want, and if you get community support, you'll join the committee. So that's kind of the long and short of that. Terms are 2 years long, and then it's staggered, so it's every other group. Current board members don't need to be renominated, so we have a bunch of them of the ones running. Most are running again, not all of them though, so there will be open seats that will be only up for folks who are newly nominated. And then all the candidates will provide statements to their candidacy, which we'll share on the Discord. So if you can't make a meeting or you want to know what people's deal is, we do a little questionnaire that's sort of open-ended, open questions that people say, like why they want to be part of the committee. So we'll see those next month after the nominations actually do close. Voters can vote for multiple candidates, and so it's not just like pick your favorite. We have a little formula based on how many open seats, how many candidates there are, and then so you get to, you don't have to like, just pick your very best friend. You can pick all your friends. If there are ties, it's resolved by die roll because we figure runoffs are great, but we don't want it to be hyper competitive. So everyone who's nominated deserves a shot, and if that shot's a die roll, super cool. But candidates must get a little bit of support before being eligible, even if it's like a not very competitive field. And these are all just game design rules to make this make sense. So as game designers, that's how we did it. The nominations are submitted online. They could also be in person. So you could do that at this meeting, approach any one of us and say, hey, I think this person would be great. That's a nomination. That will also happen at next month's meeting. So just the timeline here has been adjusted. The online nominations are the simplest way. You just give us the person's name, their Discord handle, your name and Discord handle, so we can just verify that they're part of the community. Being able to vote, being able to nominate, being able to run. We don't have membership dues. We don't keep community lists of who's in or out of the community. So if you're on the Discord, that's pretty much good enough for us. But we take a look at all the nominations just to be sure. But the bar is very low. If you've been to one meeting and you're like, you know what, I think I could lead this organization, you are free to find somebody else to nominate you and help lead this organization. We want it to be very open, very welcoming. If you don't have any idea what you'll even do, you just want to be involved, that's kind of good enough. If you have a very specific idea what you want to do and you need to make your case, also good. Many reasons to run, many ways to take it.
How many nominations do we have so far?
We are not going to reveal any of that until we do voting, but very few. Not many people have done it. So having this extra month is going to be nice for us. So yes, please. Basically, we don't want you to think of who's been nominated as like, well, should I nominate myself or should I nominate a friend? Don't worry about the field. If you want to be involved, get involved. That's the message here. But yeah, it's a pretty wide open field now. So if that does concern you, don't worry about it.
Also, I have questions on what it would be like to be on the board. Like, feel free to
Yeah, talk to the board members. If you're like, yeah, what do you do every month? Like, do you get dinner together? Do you have secret handshakes? We'll reveal all of that to you. Well, we won't tell them what it is. We'll just say that there is or not, maybe not, maybe so.
Just to find out.
Yeah, if you are nominated by a friend or by a stranger, or by you have no idea and you don't want to run, that's fine. You can decline, not a problem. You can accept or decline for any reason that you like. Oh, this is from. Oh yeah, our current nominees from. This would be as if we were closing nominations, but we have our incumbents listed here. Okay. Uh, no one's ready. This version of the slideshow was as if we were going to close nominations, and I didn't update it. So, okay, so this is when I would ask for additional nominations. We're going to do this at this meeting, and we're going to do this at next meeting as well. So, does anyone want to nominate someone now? Either you've been meaning to, or you just thought of it now. No takers? We thought this might happen, that if you believe enough in the current leadership that no one wants to displace us. But please, please, throw your hat in the ring, throw your friend's hat in the ring. Opportunities are still available throughout the next. If we don't get any further nominations and the field is short, we still run the election, no problem. So we'll have that update in a month. But we'll be bugging you from now until then to nominate folks. Sam.
I, Sam Baseman, would like to nominate John Gilliland who can choose to or decline.
Oh, we got a nomination.
And doesn't have to choose right now.
It's true. You can. All right. Well done, Sam. We'll get to the bottom of that later. So the election ballot will be at this link as well, but for now, I'm pointing you to the nomination form, which is currently there, igdatc.org/governance. If you can't remember all those letters in that order, and I can't blame you because I hardly ever can, it's also on the Discord in the announcements, and also if you just want to know, hey, where's that link, just ask on the Discord and we'll let you know. But there it is for you. And that is it for this part of the process. Are there any questions? I kind of tore through that a little bit, and the slides didn't quite match what I was saying. So hopefully I'm not confusing anybody. Everyone cool? All right, I totally believe you. All right, that's it for me.
Oh yeah. All right, and then I will switch things over. And Ezra, if you would like to come on. Oh yeah, last call. Any game jam postmortems? Cool. All right, Ezra, if you would like to take the stage, I'm going to try bringing myself around here and hope that everything stays functional.
That is always a trick.
Be good.
All right, and you can hear me okay at this level? Good? Sweet. Hello, my name is Ezra Bao. I'm here to talk a little bit about my thesis that focuses on game mechanics for cultural empathy. I'll give a little bit of background about myself, the research process, some of the preliminary research I did in papers that have been written and games that are currently on the market. I'll go over briefly the design and development process, talk about the things that I learned, things that I would change, and discuss kind of the impact and value of my research. First, a little bit of background. I am a transracial adoptee from China. I was adopted in Wuhan back in 2001, and the term transracial adoption is used amongst adoptees to describe the incongruity we feel between our race, ethnicity, and culture. I grew up in Minnesota in a fantastic suburb, so I didn't really learn the language, the culture, or maintain any of the practices. I went on.
Go back. You look really cute.
Oh, my back button doesn't work. Hold on.
Okay. Look at how cute you are in your sister.
So that is was actually still in the hotel in Wuhan. I think 8 hours after that, we walked to the Great Wall of China, and then I hopped on a plane and flew from China to Minnesota. Now I'm here. Yeah, and then the whole time. Yeah, well, that is my lovely fiance. Oh. moving into my educational background, I did my Bachelor's of Fine Arts in Animation here at Minneapolis College of Art and Design. During that time, I was able to explore my queer identity through a short film called The Regular that went on to win the Minnesota Electronic Theater Best Silent Narrative. At that same time, I worked on a biography project through AR that used architecture as a way to describe how I felt about my culture and identity. So there was American architecture that represented the first floor and the front door, and then Chinese architecture and symbology that was in the basement that included things like covered boxes and mirrors to describe that I know culturally, ethnically, I am Chinese, but it doesn't always feel like that. Uh, Going into 2024, I started my MFA in Interactive Design and Game Development at Savannah College of Art and Design. During this time, I started to explore culture through two different lenses. The first was the Cave of Pygos Today. I took concepts and lessons from traditional Chinese folklore and translated them into a creature design and short interactive scene. But the relationship between culture and game was more so through visual design and through narrative. Moving into a second project, I did Cadence of Capoeira and built a game treatment, but didn't build out the game itself. Capoeira is a Brazilian combat sport that was brought over from Angola during the Portuguese occupation and slave trade. And this project of connecting game mechanics to cultural practices set me on a path to develop my thesis. Uh, for my research project, the very first thing I did was I looked into different groups internationally. I looked at the Dakota people who are native to us here in North America, and particularly in Minnesota. That's where we get the name the Dakota County, as well as businesses like the Dakota Lounge. The Sami people of Sweden are known for their reindeer herding. The Siberian Yupik people of now Russia used to migrate across the Bering Strait for centuries. And during this time, I keep running back into Mongolia due to its rich history, um, current issues with tourism and economic impact and environmental impact in Asia. While doing this, I.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's like a hiccup.
Oh, that's fun. It'll pop back up. So the first thing I did was I did a preliminary research that asked people if they could say where Mongolia was on a map. So this is a heat map. Um, a little under half, about 43 people stated that they knew it was below Russia and above China. Further in that survey, I asked people to write what do they know about Mongolia, as well as associations they have with Mongolia. This revealed that most people put Mongolia in context to both China, equestrian practices, and Genghis Khan. Below that, below that, there was a media survey. It was asking what people know about Mongolian representation in.
I'm just gonna keep my hands fully off everything.
um, the majority
We trust you.
the majority of people said that they didn't know any media that had Mongolian representation. However, 12 people did respond with Mulan. In
Sorry.
no, you're good.
And I'm
It's
um. Oh, sorry.
been up there.
12 people did say Mulan. As some of you may know, in Mulan, the antagonists are called the Huns. However, all of the descriptions that they modeled the Huns off of are based on historical text of Chinese accounts of Mongolians. So there's kind of a mixed history in that. Uh, the most popular response after that was Genghis Khan related media or documentaries. So again, putting Mongolia in context to Genghis Khan. For my literary review, one of the first things I did was uh, dive into Mongolian culture, history, and practices. These are both research papers and firsthand accounts of people born and raised in Mongolia. And that led me into a little bit of history about Mongolia. A lot of time people start with the 1200s with Genghis Khan, but there's a long history that comes after that. In 1690s, as part of retaliation, the Qing dynasty occupies Mongolia, and in doing so, they create a lot of land laws. This limited the ability of Mongolian people to continue their migration patterns. In addition to that, they taxed Mongolian people. Prior to that, everything was barter and trade, and they weren't being taxed by goods or money, and so China added that stressor onto the Mongolian people. In 1911, the Qing dynasty collapses, and Mongolia gains partial independence, but they're still considered part of the Chinese sovereignty. So China still controls their trade and governance for the most part. In 1919, China decides to fully occupy southern Mongolia again. Um, and in doing so, there's more restrictions on what Mongolia can do, their own governance. And in this period, China recommends its own residents to move into Mongolia as a part to assimilate Mongolians into Chinese culture. In the 1920s, the Soviet Union comes to help Mongolia and push out the Chinese occupation, and they do so successfully. However, in that time, the Soviet Union maintains them as a satellite state. Um, this means that they affected both education, political, and military policies. This occupation is also what starts to rapidly remove shamanic and Buddhist practices in Mongolia. It also leads to a government genocide for those who didn't comply. Uh, through education, they also start to remove Mongolian history and replacing it for Russian and Cyrillic alphabet, as well as teaching Soviet standards and beliefs. In the 1990s, the Soviet Union collapses, and Mongolia finally becomes a fully democratic and independent state of China, away from China and Russia. However, we have now seen 300 years of occupation and war, and that affects Mongolia to this day. In 2025, somebody posted a firsthand account where they talk about day to day life, Soviet influence on language and religion. The large majority of Mongolia does speak Russian. Additionally, the traditional Mongolian script, seen here on your left, shows a traditional script that a lot of people can no longer read, especially the youth and those that were raised during the Soviet occupation. Um, Today, as of earlier this month, China has been pushing Southern Mongolian schools to comply and only teach Mandarin and no longer teach Mongolian. The person who wrote that article had a really important quote. Language is not just a tool of communication, it is at the heart of our culture's memory and sense of self. And I want you to keep this in mind. Language, when we're talking about cultural erasure, is always the first cultural staple that is removed. Then it's followed by clothing and practices. For my literary review, I also went over the gamification of culture and game mechanics. So looking at the relationship of how do we translate real life action into games. Where's the balance between ludic design and simulation? Nobody wants to sit in VR for 16 hours, so how do you translate the sugarcane workers into a game? As well as media representation and cultural identity. So looking at media theory. I also examined ludology. For games, I looked into Tengami, which I really liked. It takes the practice of origami from Japan and translates it into a very calm and creative game. You have to solve puzzles by folding paper and flipping through scenes as if they're paper. And it translates the general principle of origami of staying calm and using problem solving skills and translates that into a game. Venba takes a very personal approach to culture. The director of the game used his own experiences growing up and cultural foods to present them in game. And as you learn to cook these cultural foods, you start to learn more and more about his experiences growing up. Raji is a very a very is a very ludic approach. In this case, they take folklore and they tie it into the game's narrative. But the folklore and the demigods that are addressed affect the player's abilities throughout the game. While reading about media theory and culture, there are three values that become really prevalent and really important that build on top of each other. The first being representation. Visibility of cultures improve cultural identity, and it raises the self-esteem of individual audiences. At the same time, it also improves social perception amongst other groups. So having the visibility and representation of smaller ethnic groups in media is really important. Because oh, sorry. Okay.
So we had the problem that the laptop remained connected to the computer. So the laptop's concerned, it's still connected.
Yeah.
And the screen continued to work. It's like the laptop.
Yeah, the stream is. Yeah, as far as the stream is concerned.
I think it's after that booster device, which is probably why we have trouble troubleshooting it.
Yeah.
What happened whenever you would touch it in shops?
Oh,
Yeah.
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 That's fun.
Okay. We will see if this cable holds. Apologize for the constant interruptions.
No, you're good. Cultural representation is important for social perception, and this is how we build cultural empathy. Cultural empathy is important because it improves interpersonal relationships between the community around us. It reduces combative language in political conversations, and it raises a sense of community through the understanding of shared differences. And through empathy, we get preservation. Preservation improves problem solving and innovation through diverse backgrounds. It supports identity through language, cuisine, and arts. It also supports cultural practices, which in turn have deep environmental impacts. When these systems fail, we get things like the boarding schools for Native American children. The very first thing that was taken away was language, then their clothing, and then cultural practices. Once they remove the culture, that leads to a lack of empathy. With a lack of empathy, policymakers make decisions that are, in their opinion, best for themselves and for their wallets. That leads them to turn their backs on previous land treaties that were made with tribes throughout the United States. And with a lack of empathy comes a lack of preservation. This is Marie Wilcox. If you don't know who she is, I highly recommend looking her up and reading her story. She was the last native speaker of the Wachumni language, and she spent 20 years of her life creating a full dictionary and 8 years learning how to use a computer so that the language would no longer die. To this day, there are less than 200 people that are left in her nation, and she passed away sadly in, I believe, 2018. 2021, thank you. So now going into a little bit of the design process. The very first thing I did is I put together all of the cultural practices of Mongolia, and there is a lot of them. So some of these include Saker falcons, horseback riding, archery, saber work, the ger, also known as a yurt, the shamanic practices. They also have traditional wrestling and unique instruments like the horse fiddle and practices like throat singing. At the end of the day, I ended up going with Saker falcons. Due to their deep importance to the Mongolian culture, Saker falconry is also considered to be possibly the origin of the sport of falconry. It's one of two, the other being in the Middle East. And currently, in Mongolia, it is banned to be a Saker falconist under extreme, unless you have specific licenses. Unfortunately, there has been a dwindling population of Saker falcons, so the environmental impact was considered, but also there is illegal international trapping and removal of Saker falcons, and unfortunately, because of that international aspect, Mongolians have received the bad end of that stick by banning their own practice. Additionally, I looked at saber work. The using a saber started in Mongolia. So the French and English cavalry sabers are based off of the Mongolian sabers. There's also traditional archery, which is where a lot of Slavic archery is based, and the ger. So those were the main structure and homes for nomadic tribes. So it was important for me to include. I developed a game that was focused on a day-night cycle. During the day, you prepare traps, you hunt with your falcon, you make arrows, and you prepare food. And at night, you defend your ger from enemies. The enemies are based around spirits that are in the area, which I'll touch on in a moment. The first thing that I did after deciding my mechanics was doing some testing to decide where, again, is the line between simulation and ludic design. Simulation would be that the player does not control the falcon. They would stand at the top of a hill, release the falcon, and then go meet the falcon under tow and follow it to the prey. And then the alternative ludic design is that you, the player, would possess the Saker falcon and hunt as that falcon. The outcome of that, most people preferred being the bird. Most people wanted to be the falcon and fly around. They felt like there was a higher sense of agency. They felt more active in the practice, and they were more inclined to look up how Saker falconry works after playing the game. Then I built out a combat system. I wanted to mirror cultural land practices and spiritual practices. This included being mindful to not over-harvest the land. So the goal was that if you keep taking from the land and you don't move from that region, that more and more spirits would spawn at night. So there was a relationship there. And then the spirits themselves, once you have warded them off, become passive, and the player would enter a high-risk, high-reward scenario where if they were to kill the bear, they do get a benefit. However, each night exponentially becomes more and more difficult, which would taper down if you were to stop killing the bears. I completed visual research as well into artifacts from Mongolia. On the left is a Mongolian deal. This one was found in 1300 Mongolia. In the center is photos of two Mongolians during the Soviet Union era of Mongolia. And on the right here is a reproduction goodle. Those shoes were made very specifically for long distance walking. Thus the curved toe. So once you step forward, your foot would naturally rock forward, which is mirrored in modern day running shoes. I worked with an extremely talented texture artist, Serendipity Tinsley, and then I modeled things myself. Here is the final character model, as well as the props for the saber and the bow. Shout out! I really appreciate the IGDA TC playtesting experience. I brought in my project, I think 3 or 4 times, and every time I learned something new, I got really good feedback, which leads me into my postmortem. I had a hard time balancing scope and design. I actually talked with Mark about this. But I wish that there were a couple of interactions that I was able to flesh out, particularly combat at night. Only using the saber to ward off the bears caused confusion, so people thought that the whole goal was to kill the bears. So integrating another tool to separate damage from warding. I would also like to work towards a functioning migration pattern. The migration is so imbued in Mongolian history and has dwindled in practice, and so being able to display that in a game would have been really nice, but I ended up not being able to get that to work correctly in time. And I would also like to address additional practices like shamanic healing practices. Right now, the player eats to heal, but there's a lot of traditional healing practices that are important to the Mongolian culture. During this time, I also kind of understood and discovered the historical context and that direct relationship to modern day representation. In Civ 6 and Ghost of Tsushima, you have these really large, broad, heavy set men. And this comes directly from documentation from Japan and Mongolia, or from Japan and China during the Mongolian invasions of Asia. However, now in 2025, games like Legend of Komori are working towards representing cultures and people from Mongolia in different body types. So the impact and value. Globalization is a double-edged sword. It can lead to the death of languages and the removal of dialects through homogenization. And overall, governing bodies will always prefer the dollar at the end of the day, and that can harm smaller cultural groups. However, on the flip side, globalization is a wonderful opportunity to support local artists, to support artists of various cultures, backgrounds, and minorities. I forgot his name. He's an artist and painter in Minnesota who actually started to paint as a hobby and then started to sell those paintings around the Twin Cities. And then there are groups and communities like TikTok cultures where they go through posts on TikTok and try to culminate displays of other cultures around the world. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about the environmental impacts when representation fails. So in the early 1900s, the United States made laws banning controlled fires, controlled burns. The US government at the time did not understand why the native populations did this, and so they banned them without doing research. They did not realize that controlled burns reduced the rate of wildfires. It improved soil turnover, removed invasive species, and other environmental impacts. It's not until the 1990s when this ban is lifted. However, controlled fires are still done through fire departments in the US, and native populations are only allowed to consult and not participate. Additionally, when we disregard native practices, we get things like overhunting. The Sioux people in North Dakota and along the plains had very, very strict land rules. They managed the population of bison, they didn't overhunt, and they didn't overkill. In the 1800s, the government allowed people to mass murder bison to force native populations to move across the plains. And this caused near extinction with less than 600 bison left in North America. This also has impacts on art. Picasso started a movement called primitivism. When we don't understand the representation of cultures, we start to represent them poorly. He took African masks and didn't understand their purpose or value, and started to create a art movement that posed Western culture as superior and better, and non-Western cultures in colonized countries to be less than, to be primitive, and to be not as advanced as the Western culture. The impact that this has on society was the removal of artifacts from these countries. A really good example is the Nigerian artifacts in the British Museum. The Nigeria has asked multiple times for these artifacts to be returned, have given them reasons as to why they are important to heritage and to their culture, and the British Museum continues to disregard their plea. In 2023, there were 3.2 billion gamers in the world, and at the same time, there were 3.5 billion digital video viewers. This shows that games are a very popular medium, and not only is it a popular medium, but it is an interactive medium. Participants have to be active with the content they are dealing with, whereas video can be passive. You can throw it on in the background and you can just listen to it. So we as designers can impact how people view different cultures, ethnicities, and differences. We've seen this shift in film in the last 5 years. These are Academy Award-winning films or nominated, except for Batman Aztec. But, but this is showing a clear shift that people want to continue to learn and experience these different perspectives. In recent games, Chia is a wonderful representation of cultural practices that are integrated into core game mechanics through music of the New Caledonians. South of Midnight focuses on cultural empathy by showing and highlighting Cajun folklore and having the player go through and save these different creatures and spirits. You're not trying to defeat them or remove them, but you're helping them heal. And Relooted is a wonderful game that addresses cultural preservation. It came out yesterday. The goal of the whole game is to take back real artifacts from Western museums. If you look at the mask that she is holding, it is the same in the photo that I showed before. And this is a game that is highlighting what Western museums have done to a lot of these cultures, particularly throughout Africa. In conclusion, when we fail to understand representation, empathy, and preservation, we have situations like this in Minnesota. We have boarding schools that forced assimilation, which lead to generational trauma and systemic trauma. We have situations where governing bodies in the United States try to remove or restrict people's right to citizenship, as felt in the United States, and particularly here in Minneapolis. There are also international policies that are made. In China, they're trying to suppress and remove the Uyghur people through forced labor. In Greenland, women are having their children removed either at birth or at infancy as a way to essentially create a genocide through generational gaps. And then in New Zealand, the Maori people are being suppressed through various laws and limitations on traditional practices. So sorry. I know that games cannot fix all of the problems in the world, as good as that would be, but the visibility and information impact is extremely important. Again, there are so many gamers in the world, and there are so many people that would like to see their cultures represented in these games. So visibility is the foundational step. It allows for more depth and nuance in these conversations regarding ethnicity, culture, and identity. A great example of this are the 2 halftime shows in the past year. Bad Bunny and Kendrick Lamar are 2 of the most viewed halftime shows in the last 60 years because people want to share their cultural practices, their background, and send love letters about their history. So what can we do? If we're not all developers, we can even support development teams. If you play a game that references certain cultures, doing research about the background, their history, a lot of colonization, if you start to do that research, and we can also support them financially, buying their games and supporting them throughout awards season. Research and informing, again, going out of your way to understand the historical patterns of cultural removals and restrictions, and informing other people. The more that people understand and know about these topics, the more empathy and shared, shared empathy we'll have. And finally, look into your local communities and family history. Here in Minnesota, we are both a sanctuary state and refugee state. So we have many, many communities and businesses that we can support and talk to. A lot of them would be more than happy to share their story. The University of Minnesota has a heritage section within their website where anyone who has immigrated that you know directly or a direct relative, you can write their story about why they immigrated and how they came here. And talk to your family members. Everyone came to America, unless you're native, for a reason. And so learning and understanding about your own uh, um, family history, you'll find really interesting traditions and heritages that you can ingrain topics wise into your design in games. Uh, Overall, there's a greater value in cultural representation, empathy, and preservation. Everyone's identity is shaped by cultural experiences, whether that be through family or community. And these shared differences is directly what leads to innovative and creative thinking as artists and designers. Thank you. Yes.
Question. Um, but for the, I was wondering culturally why you chose to make it harder when you over you were saying if you over
Oh, over harvest.
harvest and the like enemies get harder. Was there like a specific cultural reason why they got harder, or was it like just gamification?
Mongolian practices and a lot of native practices work on if you destroy the land, if you damage the land, everything should remain in balance. So that's where you get some Buddhist beliefs as well, where when things are imbalanced, you're damaging the earth below you, and so making that a visceral response to the player portrays that belief through game
And
design.
then follow up. Some gamers actually like when things are more difficult. So I'm wondering, like, if they actually, if that could get,
Hmm.
compromise that
Yeah, I think it would come down to playtesting and values. The idea is that it would become kind of exponentially more difficult, and so it might be tameable at first, but then as it gets too difficult, the player would kind of learn how to ebb and flow on if or when can I over harvest and when I can't.
yeah. Cool.
But that's I think part of my post mortem that I wanted to touch on is that this was developed over the course of 3 months. And so having kind of a continuous game loop where I can test more of those systems is something I look forward to post grad. Yes.
So speaking to that 3 months and
Understandably, that causes a lot of scoping decisions. How did you balance taking the time to do accurate research and accurate representation versus needing to just get stuff in there and actually have something as a game?
That is a good question. I think a lot of it was taking my time in the early stages and then prototyping very slowly. So once I knew that I wanted falconry, I kind of started to make a cube that I could possess and fly around. And during that time is when I also went back to research a little bit more about land practices and beliefs. So it was kind of as I implement one thing, what can I be researching for the next step?
Follow up, did you make any decisions that you wish you would have done different?
Part of me, at least for the terms of thesis, I wish that I would have focused on just the day cycle. I was advised to make a full game loop, and I feel like the quality of the day cycle is what I was hoping for, but the rest of the project into that night cycle I felt like kind of falls flat in comparison. Part of that was also because I spent so much time focusing on the testing for that falconry system and making sure that that worked correctly, without kind of balancing that night focus as well. Yeah, of course. Thank you. Yes.
I really enjoyed having your game at playtest.
Thank you.
I think more people should be more thoughtful in the holistic sense you brought to it. So, likewise, it was lovely to have it as part of it. From that perspective, when you came into it with a holistic vision for how you wanted it to feel to players, what was the journey from that to like deciding like how hard is this game? And like you were talking about coming up with those things, but did you have any kind of conception as to how the game would play mechanically, or did you leave that to discover as you were starting to build it?
I left that kind of to discovery. The way that I had the slide structured, where the Sacred Falcon came first, that's because I think that really was the cornerstone, just because of the dwindling practice in Mongolia. And then as I knew it was going to be that, I knew there were going to be survival elements. And then as I was again kind of working through the Sacred Falcon and what that would look like, how would captures work? Was that going to be a QTE, which is what I did end up landing on. I started to develop kind of how the spirits would work. I researched also kind of about a lot of the animals that are in Mongolia. A lot of them aren't naturally violent, and so integrating that element of it is kind of the land possessing a spirit, is taking more of an abstract idea that is in Mongolian culture and kind of personifying it through the game. Um, yeah. Yes.
Just thinking about that migration mechanic you mentioned, did that sort of fall? I think you said you didn't get to it, or you didn't. Was it because you had everything you intended in that your initial like go at it, or would the migration mechanics sort of naturally
So
other avenues of gameplay or whatever?
yeah, the migration was one of the last pieces. I knew it was something big picture that would be something I wanted to have. Again, didn't think that I would have it for thesis. Uh, with that being said, I actually talked to Mark about this. We were trying to find ways of how would we fake that migration, and part of the problem then became just scope and setting things up. So I was never able to implement like a full tutorial, and so I was trying to get in how do we introduce all of these mechanics to users. It ended up being a panel that is in your inventory, and so it was just time kept running out. One of the issues with migration is I'm also new to Unreal Engine. I started in it about a year and a half ago. And the very first thing I did was not set the inventory in the correct game state. So when you changed scenes, everything went away. So that's also, again, just like a systems error that I made when I was building out the original character controller. Yes.
Managing the mic. Was there any part of the process of trying to translate these cultural practices into gameplay experiences that ended up being like a kind of pleasant surprise? Anything that was like really excited you or delighted you as you were going about this process? Like any highlights?
Um, I think one of the things that I had a lot of fun with was really the falconry mechanic. I think when I talked to a professor, he thought that my whole thesis was just going to be inputs for that falcon, and I kind of wish I had stuck with that, because I think two combat systems are extremely complex when you get into melee and archery. I had a lot of fun with the archery mechanic, but oof, for anyone that played my game, that saber animation and mechanic was, ooh, it's rough. It is not good. Yes.
Is there anywhere that
that someone, is there anywhere that someone could play this game currently?
It is on itch.io, but it is not the most recent build. I think I have to do the thing where I email them to tell them that my file exceeds their 1 GB rule. Yeah. Yes. The name of the game is called Trek to Kangai. That's actually based off of a real migration pattern from the Altai Mountains down to the steeps. But yeah, it's on. I could have.
We can also
but
like send a link in the chat.
yeah, I can do. I'll do that. Yeah, I can do that after this. Huh?
I already got the link in chat.
Oh, that was so fast. Okay.
I've been trying to look for your
short film that you mentioned this entire time. I just cannot simply find it.
Oh, I think that is on YouTube. I can also send a link to that.
I would appreciate that.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, there's.
Culture that you're interested in making games around there. Right?
Yeah, so post-grad, I actually was looking into different architectural building techniques that have been either rediscovered by Europe. So a good example is in the Middle East, they built towers that went above courtyards and they funneled air through, and it was passive air cooling. We rediscovered those in America, but we made them out of steel. They're originally made out of clay. So things like that where we reinvented something that already exists, and kind of digging into those ideas. Yes.
So coming back to something Rob was saying about maybe some people would miss the point of the game and go more into the challenge. Did you give any design consideration to how do you make the point of the game without it becoming a beating over the head kind of moment?
That's a good question as well. I think that would come down to more playtesting and then talking to more designers. I think for thesis, the goal was just getting a playable loop. But this is something I would like to expand on. And I think it would become a numbers game. I made a very basic spreadsheet for kind of damage, spawn rate, and health of enemies, but I wasn't able to fuss on a systems end with that any more than that.
Yeah, I ask because I think this gets into something that a lot of games do with regards to figuring out what your target audience is. On the one hand, you could have a game that goes for being an accurate representation of what the culture is, but that doesn't necessarily draw people in who are from a different mindset that aren't necessarily looking for that, but that requires then a different game design. So I think it's an interesting thing to figure out where do you lie on that balance.
I think for me the biggest hope would be that somebody were to see the game and go, I actually don't know that much about Mongolia. So like through the preliminary survey I had, somebody had said they actually realized that they didn't know anything about Mongolia and decided to fix that. And they did some research and submitted a second survey. And I think that visibility and awareness to go, oh, I actually don't know a lot, and continue to do research is really important.
So was that
intentional as part of your design to elicit those kind of feelings?
Yeah, in a book that didn't actually make it into the game, I do have a lot of the practices, their origins, the purpose, in a book in the Gare that a player could go up to and flip through. But because of time, I didn't finish the entirety of that book. You'll see a really popular theme of time in this one, which I think that's just a forever problem, to be honest. Thank you. Yeah.
Did you ever worry about accurately representing the culture, or as a white male in America, I'm kind of like, oh, I I can't talk about that because that's not my culture. I want to learn about it, but I don't feel like I can accurately represent that. Did you run into a fear like that?
Yeah, I think when I was kind of looking at this, there are a lot of articles about the difference between representation and appropriation. And I think going into it, knowing that I don't know everything about Mongolia, and because I'm not Mongolian, I did reach out to researchers to see if historians would help. I heard back from none of them. Uh, they're all very busy people. And so I think starting there is really important. Again, going through and researching firsthand accounts and other research papers and building based on what I'm seeing there. And any decision that I made that does start to stray away from directly what's in text, I wrote down why did I make that decision, and trying to portray the difference between this is what it is and this was my interpretation. I think that is also important. Um, and yeah, I think being informed and knowing that you don't know everything and trying to reach out to people is really important. I think had I not gone with Mongolia, I would have gone with the Dakota people, just because I know they have a lot of in Minneapolis they have a building that you can go into and talk to them. So again, post grad, that would also be to swing back to that question. Building a game based on the Dakota people is also something that I'm interested in. Yes.
To follow up on that last question, would you want to Mongolia?
Say that again? Oh, yeah. I have not gone to Mongolia, but we have looked into it. It is expensive, and it's hard because I would like to go, but the tourism industry is actually really, really harmful to the native Mongolian population. A lot of people go there to go backpacking in yurts and to go through the mountains and the steeps. And that practice is really dangerous for the people that do it, but because of financial disparity, the people that do end up doing it, that is how they end up making ends meet. And so it is kind of a hard balance of wanting to go and visit and meet, but not being able to. I was able to find communities through Reddit and another forum of people that actively live in Mongolia, and I did talk to them about is this something that you would even want? Do you feel like there is enough representation? You don't need another guy coming in and doing it. And there are people that did. There are some people that iterated like they probably would never play it just because they aren't either super into gaming, they don't really care about Mongolian representation to go out of their way to play a game. But there are some people that said like I have kids or nephews that would be interested. So I think talking on online forums is also another way to kind of work through that. Yeah. Yes.
Did you meet any like Americans of like Mongolian history or like refugees possibly? Well, not refugees, but migrants. I guess they could be refugees.
Yeah. No, I didn't, unfortunately. I don't know a lot about the Mongolian population in Minnesota. I know more about the Hmong population as per a lot of Minnesotans, but Mongolia not as much.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. I think that's it. Thank you. Totally forgot I was in that Discord call.
Yeah, and it seems like it must have been that cable with the thing. You know, hopefully.
Good job fixing that.
Thank you, James. Again. Fingers crossed next month. We'll see. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us through tonight. Amazing talk again. Thank you, Ezra. For those of us who are here in person, after these meetings, we usually mingle here for a little bit and then mosey on over to Station 280 for some food and further conversation. Can I get a quick show of hands estimate of how many people would be interested in something like that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17. We'll round up to 20. Cool. Thank you so much, everybody. floor is open for a little bit for mingling and chatting, and at some point we will ask y'all to start moving. Again, it's Station 280. You can search it up online, find your way there. What's up? Yes, I was segueing into I am going to be over here fiddling with stuff. So friends on the stream, I'm going to say goodbye, but the stream's going to still be running. Trying to figure out. I'm almost certain it's something with the side chaining because I boosted the audio.
Oh, I can actually see from afar that it's actually like the audio is actually. Actually see the level. So, I'm wondering if it just needs a delay on the room mic, like an actual. If you go to like the filters, or even you go to like the little gear. So we've got all these audio these sync offsets. So I'm wondering if that room mic just needs to be, well, let's see here. Looks like it's after the fact. So we would need to check.
And let me try.
Yeah, so like watch when I talk. Hello.
Audio volume, room mic, audio volume.
Yeah, check. Hey there.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but even if I talk louder here, you're like seeing it after the fact. So, I think that if you put a delay on there, it might actually, yeah, or this mic.
Because I believe it is when it's on this mic, I think that when audio comes in from here, it ducks this.
Yeah, there might also be, something happening with this connection. The connection of the actual, like, sometimes there's these proprietary softwares that happen within like their own software, and it can add a delay unless
Can you check the host mic properties?
Yes.
Not the filters.
Do you wish to be nominated, Rob?
No,
Damn.
I know. I just,
That was my only thinking.
I know.
The reason it wouldn't have
I
worked
thought
is it was out
about
of
it,
sync.
but I think
Right, which is
I'd
what I was
rather
seeing
just focus
before.
on Gamedev
I thought maybe you had like defaulted back to another input.
be
or
able to
something.
receive funding. Honestly,
But here, like,
that's like more important to me right now. But
okay, and that's real to
I
me.
might.
Because that was the
I just
question
wanna
is like, is
really
this
focus on Gamedev.
also real to us?
So,
Smart.
but I think,
Dodging responsibility.
yeah. But I really appreciate it. Well, it doesn't mean a lot. It doesn't mean a lot. I
I think the webcam is delayed, which is a problem. I don't honestly rebooting your computer might do it because that was never the webcam was always close to real time. This was using the standard Windows drivers. This was delayed, but with the ISO drivers, it was real time. It worked last month.
Right.
This exact setup works on my
Yeah. I had been wondering if it was just like it was ducking enough because I had boosted, like I had added.
It's not, yeah, nothing to do with that. It's entirely the sync. That's what the echo is. Okay. But like the problem is, whenever we're hooked up here, things get unplugged and plugged in all the time because there is power nonsense here, which means that the computer has to jump all this.
Yeah.
Which is pretty smart. So we probably don't see a lot of it doing that in truly.
Right. Like
That might have just introduced a delay.
yeah.
And so like we had to unplug parts to get it to work again. So
Yeah.
like try rebooting your computer now.
Yeah.
See if that because right now you can see that it's off sync.
Right. Robin suggested doing like an offset.
You can do that, but the thing is that I do think that there might be some proprietary software that's running in the background. It's possible, and that software might be adding the delay.
Well, hey, quick before you do that, go and look at the host mic and check that properties. Sorry, the room mic. Check the properties of the room mic. Let's pulling from the right spot.
Microphone Logitech by Byron.
I thought maybe It might just be.
Is there any other softwares going on at the same time outside of this software?
For camera, there is.
Can I
Not
see
for
it?
audio. There's nothing
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. It still might actually affect it. It could affect it. It happens to me all the time with my softwares. So I'll go to, let's see here.
Thank you for doing it.
Settings. Nothing there. What was that other software? When that OBS bot?
Oh, this is camera.
Yeah, I know, but still. Let me
We don't use the microphone on that.
Yeah.
We could.
But a delay is happening between. It could be also happening between those two things. So I'm device of that OBS bot. I know it sounds crazy.
Well, anything with
Yeah. I can also put that on too.
Oh, I see.
So.
make it look really pretty too. That's hella.
Nothing is giving me any
No, now you guys put it
signals.
I expected. I could never.
It's just what we like to do.
I get it.
Probably isn't that.
It's punishing for sure.
What is the other?
I disabled the microphone in firmware on that so that OBS would never pick it up and mistake it. So it should never interfere.
Where's like audio settings for your computer? Just want to check.
That's such a great area too. Yeah, like I like AI, but at the same time it's like. I know people are having it.
There also could be some fuckery in here that's actually causing it. Yeah, because we kept hearing like your internal, your like system sounds. So
That's by design. That's another channel. That's audio. The reason there was an echo is because when they're off sync, the cross chaining will not work because it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like because they're not happening at the same time. So we won't. You know.
Right. So I'm gonna try restarting.
So the host mic makes a noise.